Welcome back, everybody. This is Bite-Sized Media, a subsidiary of Slate Media. It must be Thursday because I think we're solving another mystery today.
Yes. That's my...
It doesn't work without the funny hat.
Spyglass. Is that what that's called? Magnifying glass.
You gonna fry some ants with that?
No.
That's what all the cool
Fry
kids...
an egg with it.
I wonder how long you'd have to sit there to do that.
We're watching Sherlock.
Yeah, we're watching Sherlock. This is the first completely unknown territory to both of us. I have never seen anything past the Sign of Three. You obviously haven't seen anything. We know that the episode is called His Final Vow.
Or his last vow. I think it's Last Vow.
Fact check me on that, Jared, because I really don't know.
His last vow.
His last vow. And in the, funny enough, last episode, he said his guarantee to Mary and John was his only vow. I'm interested to see how that plays out, how they're going to make us think and then immediately not think that Sherlock is dead this time. Are you still double checking it? I can continue filling time.
Yeah, yes. I had trouble. I went out of the episode, and then it wouldn't let me back. I'm back. Just having it pulled up in case. Yeah. So it's connected to what you just said, the thing he said at the reception about, I never make vows. I've never made one. This is my first and only. So.
I wonder if John is put in jeopardy in this time. But he was put in jeopardy in the last one, too. So.
It's true.
I don't know.
I feel like...
How are they going to follow up the high of last week?
I don't know. Well, it works best when he has a nemesis or he's up against something way bigger than himself. Because usually it's just like one person behind everything or a couple people. But like the thing in the first episode of the series that kind of was a little bit underwhelming to me was how they build up this big terrorist attack, and it's like, okay, this is a major scale thing that they really need help on, and it's like the classic superhero formula. He's back, we're adjusting to him being alive. Now here he goes to take on this threat, but that's on the back burner for most of the episode, which was fine. I think I said, like, I like how they focused on the human interaction side of it and the adjusting, but it kind of was disappointing in that regard. And then, of course, last episode was a very contained thing and it doing its own thing. So it's like, if whatever happens in this one, because usually the third one of each series is the big one.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what he's up against.
It's interesting because of the way that these kind of progresses movies-ish more than episode. Like, they're like episode movies, but they don't really connect. There's not like an underlying story so much
From episode to episode?
Yeah.
I mean, there is.
It's loose.
It is loose, with, of course, the Moriarty stuff being the most connecting.
Yeah. But he's dead now.
Yep. Man, Andrew Scott was so good.
That is fair.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, so we don't know what this is about. This is, again, unknown territory. We have, after this, one more series and technically like a special movie type thing in between. So we're getting close to the home stretch, which, funny though, we say home stretch. It's like 6 or 7 hours of content after this 90-minute episode.
Yeah.
So we have like 9 hours of content left.
Yeah.
But still.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready to watch this? I'm just interested to see where it goes. I've never seen it. So let's get to it. Let's get to it and
take a bite.
Welcome back, everybody. I just have one thing to say about this Sherlock episode. You know, I have seen Benedict Cumberbatch. I've seen Benedict Cumberbatch as an asexual, a gay man, and a dragon. Never have I seen him, like, kiss a woman before.
Or at least an overly amorous heterosexual.
Yeah.
Because, like, that wasn't just, hi, honey. That was, hi, honey.
Yeah.
And then once you realize the game, it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But that was cruel. But then it turns out she was not fully in it either. She's out for things.
Not
like
exactly uncruel herself. Anyway, if you can't tell, we just watched the series finale.
Series
3 finale of Sherlock called His Final... Sorry.
I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to do it.
Vow.
Yes, and wow.
Yeah, I've always been told that Sherlock falls off after the second series. I don't see it.
This might be my favorite series so far.
10 years ago, I didn't really care for it, but I was dumb 27-year-old Jake at that point.
I think that might be my favorite of the series so far. I said last week was my favorite episode of the series. It probably still is, but this episode completely pulls the rug out from the last episode. And for the first time, I was
and
like,
it connects
I don't
it all in like the best way that any of the series have been connected.
And halfway through, I didn't know if I was liking it because I was like, it kind of takes some of the emotional punch out of that last episode. But the way it does it and the way it develops, it's like, no, this is really good.
It all hinges on how they handle the Mary being not who she says she is thing.
Yeah, it could have easily been a she's working for the bad guy, and it's not. And what I've liked, and I don't know if I've said it throughout all these episodes of Sherlock, it's very good at subverting. It really is. Instead of being a straight-up detective show that's like, first act sets up the mystery, the middle act is all the action trying to figure it out, and then the third act is the big, here's how it happened. They do that in a couple episodes, but most of it's kind of been more about the characters and the interactions and the way they can keep you on your toes and, confusing you. Because there are times in this I wasn't fully understanding. But I also do appreciate how it's not easy for, like, Mary. It's like, okay, so she isn't who she said she is. And I was thinking, like, of course John can't find someone normal. But then when they explained it, like, you're drawn to these kind of people. You like, literally, this is because you chose her. I go, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I also like that they give John the choice of being with her or not being with her. And he says that, he chooses her in that your past is your past. What's in front of us is what's important to me. Which I think is hard.
But I'm still pissed off. That's what he said.
Well, yeah.
Which, every right.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's from my own experiences with my marriage, I think that it resonates with me, at least. And at least it seems like she's not actively being... it'd be a different thing if it was you're actively being an assassin right now. But
yeah, I
don't think it's that.
It's more about, I put this behind me. I tried to move on. It got found out, and I'm being kind of pressured into its reveal by this guy. So it's like, it all makes sense. And I like how she cares about John most of all. Because in that hallway scene, she's like, you just can't let John know, because that's what I absolutely cannot let happen. It's like, okay, she does love him. She's trying to save this. Of course, John is there.
Yeah. Well,
the second Sherlock pulled out and she says, oh, a dummy. I'm like, I wonder if that's someone. And then right before the reveal, I go, oh, it's John.
When she said it was a dummy, I was like, it's like the homeless guy. What's his name? I don't even remember.
Bill Wiggins?
Yeah, Bill Wiggins.
Who we thought was Draco Malfoy.
He looks like him. He's
British.
Too old. He was
British.
born in that guy was born in 1972, but
he's like 15 years older than Tom Felton.
Really good editing this season too, except for our qualms with
the second episode, the couple parts, but it's a step up in execution, and part of it might be just modern bias. I don't know how to say it, like recent, not even recent, because this is 10 years old, but like when you watch the first series and the second series, how it's very late 2000s, early 2010s British feeling, and then like now it does feel a little more Americanized, and like the color palette is a lot closer to what we have now, and the editing style and pacing is just different, and I liked it better. that sequence where after he's shot, where he's like going into his mind palace and trying to like rationalize the situation, realize what's happened, and try to not go into shock and stay alive is really good.
And I like how everyone is involved, like everyone important in his life except for John is involved in that situation.
It's his brother kind of like being the one similar to the last episode, kind of being the one to like push him to be smart, and Molly is there with the medical advice.
I think that just tells you how important she actually is to him, despite how much he kind of brushes her off. Yeah. He still does it, though. After they get him, after they bring him to the hospital, give him a drug test, pee in a cup, whatever, and she slaps him like, I'm glad you broke off your engagement, particularly there's no ring right now.
She slapped him hard. 3 times. Man. I think I mentioned it way back. It's like, does he have substance abuse outside of just cigarettes? And because you point out that counts, but it's like, I meant like the show built it up to be something more serious, but it was just, he's addicted to nicotine. But no, he even says it in the episode, I'm a drug addict who gets high off of solving cases. And it's like, this isn't just mental stimulation. He's addicted to this because otherwise he'd be addicted to worse things.
Yeah, not to get into too much substance abuse, but like I think a lot of it, and again, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, I think a lot of it is transferable to any sort of addictive substance or action.
Yeah. But that whole scene at their house, where right after the hallway scene, is really good, and just the dynamics between the characters are really good. And again,
I think this is Martin Freeman. Yeah. Martin Freeman's best performance in an episode of Sherlock, hands down. That the whole scene in Baker Street when after the hallway scene is just. Whew.
It's like, so far, if we're to pick one scene for Martin Freeman from the show, it's that one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's so good in the show, and this was a really good episode. And of course, Lars Mikkelsen being your villain, I love that guy. I think it was around.
He's dead now.
The character.
Yeah,
I was like, what happened to Lars? But I think it was around this time that I saw him in House of Cards. That's like the first time I ever saw him. He's in a couple episodes. He's the Russian leader in that show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Lars Mikkelsen, and that was around this time. So that's the first time I saw him. And then, of course, Star Wars Rebels is what I've seen him in the most, is because he's Thrawn. And, of course, in live action now is Thrawn. So, it's the voice.
My brain had completely forgotten that it was called Rebels, and so when you said Rebels, I was like, is there one I haven't seen?
But he's just so good at playing these like quietly intimidating villains. Like Thrawn is intimidating in his own, but like this guy is intimidating in that way, and he's creepy.
This guy's like
a little unhinged, but like
couldn't
controlled
even
chaos.
He couldn't beat you up if he tried. All he has is like the power of his knowledge.
Yep.
And so he gets people to let them flick their eye. Like,
the reveal of there's no vault. It's all up here. I just remember it, and I was like, that's why. And it's like, well, then what proof do you have? He's like, I don't need proof. I'm a newspaper guy. I print it. People will believe it. That's why he's flicking him. He's like, I can just do this if I want. And while he's flicking him, I think I said, is he like trying to get him to shoot him? And that's what I kind of had the idea. Okay, at a certain point, like it showed the quick shot before he does of Sherlock grabbing. So I go, yeah, Sherlock's gonna shoot him. Was a little surprised. I thought it was going to end with him on the flight, and then it picks up with this. But it got me with the static and the distortion and somehow he's back. Moriarty's back.
Yeah. Did you miss me?
Miss me. That whole thing, and yeah. Well, I forgot to mention that we talked up last week, switching gears here, the Mary Watson wedding and reception, and how good it made us feel and all this stuff, and I like how she bridges the two of them, and it's still true, but it's like, oh, it's completely recontextualized. It's completely different now.
Yeah, it's still true, but it is completely different. She still is a good bridge of the two of them.
Yeah, it's a completely different perspective now. And I like how his last vow in that second episode is being committed to those two. And that's what he does at the climax of this episode is he takes John out of the equation to save both of them. And that's really good. Yeah. The human side of him, like most film and TV characters that start either hard-edged or just hard to get to or less human seemingly than us, it's those humanizing moments that make for some of the best development or just story in media.
I think one of the most human moments in this episode specifically is when they're at the what's his last name again?
The villain?
No, Sherlock's.
Holmes?
Sorry, yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Wow. Oh, my God.
See, I thought you were going to say, like, Magnuson. No,
I'm
Sherlock Holmes?
I'm talking about his parents' house.
Their last name is Holmes, too, I think.
Okay. Whatever.
You're saying when they flash there, you're like, oh, is this a flashback? Then they go back to the hallway once or twice?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an immaculate use of flash forward.
Yeah. Or the other thing would be, we did cut to that, and then the hallway, we're flashing back to the hallway. So the hallway becomes the flashback, and then this is what's happening. But the way it's set up, it's like a flash forward.
It doesn't tell you what the
context is. Yeah. I thought it, because he pulls out the flash drive, and it cuts back to, like, Baker Street with the flash. I'm like, so is this in the past? Like, he got this from her, and he refuses to look, and now we're here. No, it's the other way around. Okay. Because they mentioned how, Sherlock just got out of hospital. It's like, yeah, he was just in the hospital. And then you realize, oh, no, he was re-hospitalized at Baker Street. Okay. The structure of this episode is really good.
Yeah, but the moment I was talking about is when Mycroft and he are smoking out in the backyard of the Holmes house, and their mom Bob's like, "Are you guys smoking?" No.
No, Mycroft is. Because it was no. Mycroft is.
I just love the little moments of brotherhood between them. You don't really get a lot of it.
Yeah, there so many good characters. Again, the interactions and the development between all of them is like what makes this show stand out from not only other Sherlock adaptations, but just other shows. Because, again, this could have just been an episodic procedural show, and it's not. Or at least not solely that. And that's what I really appreciate. It's more memorable. It's more interesting. It's not perfect, but there's plenty to talk about. And so far, how many episodes in is this? Is it 9 episodes?
Yeah, this is the 9th one.
So 9 episodes in, it's like I feel like we have spent a lot of time with them, and we have, but
yeah.
Like within the show, it's been years, and then for us, it's been how many hours is that? Like 15 or 16 or something like that. Like we have spent the time, but it's always weird. It's like, we've only seen them actually seen a full case, like 9 or 10 times. Like, it's not that many compared to other shows. Look at, like, your SVUs, which have run for 20 years. Like NCIS. Like, they've solved so many of these. Like, like, some of those, like, 300 or 400 times. And then this one, it's only like 9 or 10. But we feel the weight of them more than those others. Yes, the episodes are longer. But imagine watching the whole thing live and it's spread out over 7 years.
I mean, even if you think about that, even if you consider that one is 40 minutes, right? So say there's 2 40-minute television episodes in this. That's only 18 episodes. It's not even a season.
Yeah, a season of an old season of American television, or at least current network still does that.
22 episodes, yeah.
Something like that.
The whole definition of what a season is has shifted since streaming networks have started making their own.
Yeah, it's from what I thought. It's like it's a mix of HBO's like 10-episode seasons, British having shorter series that people latched onto because of internet accessibility, and just streaming week to week where people don't want to be invested for half a year on one season. They want it all compact. But it's kind of changing again because it's like, oh, people subscribe when they want to watch this show. Once the show is done running for this season, they get rid of the subscription until next year or whenever the next season is. So if you extend it, they're subscribed longer. So that means seasons are getting longer, and they're adding ads. What is streaming becoming, Jake?
Television.
Yep. It's just, and I had said it in a different way years ago when all these streaming services popped up. It was like 2017 or 18. I'm like, okay, eventually there's going to be so many, they're just going to bundle them. It's just going to be cable all over again. I thought of it in that way. I did not see the ad thing coming, and I should have. Like it's like, pay more for no ads. Okay, well, at what point is it? Everything's going to have ads because they can't make money without them, and everyone wants everything. So you're going to pay $200 a month for every big streaming service with ads. What does it sound like, Jake? Again,
cable.
Yep, it's just back.
I mean,
the difference is you can choose what you want to watch. They've really got us.
You can kind of do that with cable now too. There
Kinda.
are on-demand services that
there are on-demand.
Like they have streaming services like baked into the cable.
Yeah, it's cyclical.
Mm-hmm. Everything is. There's nothing new under the sun. You know that.
Yep. But back to Sherlock. I really like Series 3. The whole thing with Sherlock not dying is still on my mind. I don't know. I like them not answering it, but also it's kind of like a big tease of they kind of hung it in front of us, and that last shot is like, oh, we're going to explain how this happened. When they don't, it
also doesn't matter because it's just a joke.
Which, again, is like, that's kind of cheapening it, too. Like, I don't know. I'm so mixed on how to feel. But that episode...
I'm just glad it wasn't the very first one.
Yeah. But that episode, I think I said, like... the bulk of it is adjusting to him being back and all the character interactions. The second episode, then, is, like, the emotional highs. And then this episode is, like, restructuring context. It's a very good series. And I'm excited for The Abominable Bride and Series 4. I really am. This is where a lot of people don't like the very end. So we'll see what happens. But
I think, I don't know if I've said it before in this episode, but I've always heard that it falls off after season 2. I didn't feel that here.
I think it's about the same.
I remember feeling that when I watched it the first time, but I am a very different person, as we've said before, so...
Yeah, I think the quality has remained consistent. I
think people just got tired of Moffat because of what he was doing on Doctor Who.
Yeah. Also, we're watching this week to week to week, and these are week to week to week, 2 years, week, 2 years. So when people sit for 2 years and this is what you get grumpy or upset because it's not doing what you want it to. We have 4 more to go. But also, it's like, I kind of get it. Like, they waited that long just for it to restructure itself in each episode.
Yeah.
I get it. But it's a show that's meant to be watched closer together, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Than the 2-year gaps. Like, I would not binge it. But watching it within a couple weeks.
It would be a hard thing to binge, given that they're hour-and-a-half episodes.
Yeah, and they are a little exhausting.
A little bit.
When you get to the end of them, but very good.
All right, you got anything else to say?
Nope.
I'm good. I'm happy Mary's not a bad guy, and she's giving us a little Watson girl.
Yep. Sherlock is a girl name.
Yeah, Sherlock. Shirley Locke Watson.
Shirley Locke. There we go. Cheryl Locke.
Anyway, if you want to continue down this adventure with us, come back every Thursday. We'll be solving more mysteries for at least another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Next episode is the 2016, I believe.
That sounds right.
It was special here.
It's a special.
It's special because they wanted to do something, but they didn't want to do
the same thing. It's cool. It sounds like a cool thing. We don't know much about it, but it's a different time period with the same 2 characters.
The first 5 words in the description are Sherlock under the influence of drugs.
All right. But that's next week.
That is next week. Until then, where can they find us, Jer?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and the funny TikTok, and X,
formerly known as Twitter. And
you can listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and hey, if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell. Make sure you like us and rate us on all those apps, and check out our groovy website.
All right. And so, to end off this series. Catch you later.
Take a bite.